Yes, my name is Edward King. I'm a veteran advisor at Tarrant County College. Today in our Veterans Lounge, we have Mr. Cord Williams. He's an Air Force veteran who was honorably discharged and fought valiantly for our country. And we had a few questions for him today. He's actually a veteran specialist for Tarrant County College. And we have some general questions that may assist students. So the first question we have for you, Mr. Williams, would be number one, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are?
Oh yeah, for sure. You forgot to mention that I did serve in the Navy as well.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that, sir. Oh, look at that, man.
Yeah, I actually spent 5 years in the Navy and I spent another 6 years in the Air Force.
Excellent.
So a little bit about me. I have 4 kids and ranging from the age of 16 down to 7.
Mm,
I got out of the military in 2016 fully. Glad to be out. And I started working with TCC back in 2019, right? Yeah. So
hmm
I've been here a little over a year now. I started off in proprietary and went from proprietary over to the community college uh, portion of higher education. So I've been in the education field for about 6 years now.
Okay. And how is it serving fellow veterans?
Say that one more time. I didn't hear you.
How is it to serve fellow veterans? My apologies.
How is it? Are you asking me how is the job? How
Yes.
do I like it? Oh, I love
Yeah.
it.
How do you, let me rephrase. As a veteran specialist, how do you enjoy your job as serving veterans?
I love it. I get the chance to speak with like-minded people. We tend to come from the same background most of the case, or at least military background. Some of them may have come from the Marines, some may have come from the Coast Guard. You know, you just never know what you'll get. But the stories that you get to hear, it kind of reminds you of yourself sometimes, especially the ones that didn't serve that long, and for those who just recently got out. So to hear their stories, I love it.
Okay. Another question I have here is, what is your role as a veteran specialist?
Uh, my job is document intake. So basically, when a student first decides to come to TCC and their in, their intentions are to use VA benefits, what they'll do is they'll contact me. So I handle all of the documents as long as they've already um, visited the vets.gov website and they've
hmm
already put their application in and they're ready to go. They have their COE in hand. They'll submit everything to me, DD 214, the COE. If they're dependents, then they'll just submit their COEs.
Gotcha. And for those who don't know what a CO is, what is that exactly?
Certificate of eligibility is basically the document that you'll receive in the mail once you have filled out the application online.
Mm,
And by the application, I mean the VUN app, what we used to call the VUN app, but it's the application on vets.gov.
okay. And they need all those documents for a particular reason. In this case, I'm assuming to number one, provide evidence of benefit and evidence of honorable discharge. And once you receive those documents, the typical next step, as students understand it, is they need to submit a VA certification request. Can you explain to our students what that is exactly?
Yes, sir. So the VA certification request is located via Web Advisor. So the request is for the processing office to know that we have a VA student that is actually seeking to use or attempting to use VA benefits. Without that request, there is no way for the processing office to know that the student is using VA benefits. So it's very important that once the student has registered for their classes, or even before they've registered for their classes, they can actually visit WebAdvisor and request certification for the term or the particular term that they're intending to use VA benefits for.
Okay. So I know a lot of students think that they have to submit the certification, let's say after registration. I'm glad you clarified that student can actually submit that request prior to registering for coursework.
Correct.
Okay. And why is a student required to submit that request? Maybe you answered that, but sometimes students get the idea that they submit that certification request and that's it. That's the end of the process. But there's more to that, correct?
Right. So once they've submitted the request, what they want to do is, if they haven't registered for classes, then they want to go ahead and register. But not only that, they want to be sure that their JSTs, which is Joint Service Transcripts, or their CCAF, Community College of the Air Force, you want to make sure those transcripts have been requested, and if they've already been submitted as well. Uh,
Mm.
Also, the student may want to check to, and if they've been with TCC for a while, they may want to check to make sure that their GPA meets standards. The required GPA score is a 2.0, so students need to know that.
Okay. So if they go below 2.0, they could potentially lose their veteran benefit, correct?
Correct, until they brought themselves to good standing.
Okay. The reason we asked that question, we have tons of students who submit that VA certification request and they contact us, the counselor or the advisor, and say, and yourself, I'm sure,
Yeah.
I submitted everything, but the VA says, you all haven't submitted my documentation to them for enrollment. So what should we tell a student in that situation?
There's a process to this. Just because they've requested certification doesn't mean that they're going to be certified right away. The school itself has 30 days to submit that certification once the student has sat in class the very first day. So 30 days from that time, the school has time to submit the certification. And from that point, once the VA receives it and they approve of it, the VA has 30 days to submit a payment. So I always tell students to give the process anywhere between 30 to 60 days. That does not mean that it's going to take 30 to 60 days, but you have to give that allotted time.
Okay. Yeah, we have that question a lot, so I figured we, answer that question thoroughly for them. The next general question I have, and please, attendees, them being Mr. Ayala and Valerie, if you have questions, please ask those. The question I have is, in general, what are some coming themes or questions that students email you or contact you with, so that maybe we can clarify or you can give better clarification so that they won't have to necessarily email you, contact us. We can actually provide this as maybe a resource for them.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, what are some common questions that you get from students? Um,
Um, Basically the one that you just asked. Why haven't I received compensation yet?
okay.
I submitted the certification request on back in December, but I haven't been paid yet. The first thing that I always tell students to do is to make sure that they go and check their emails, because 9 times out of 10, the processing office has sent them an email letting them know what they could possibly be missing. And 9 times out of 10, it's the certification request.
Mhm.
And if it's not the certification request, it's the transcripts. So they need to check to make sure that their transcripts have been submitted or requested.
Gotcha.
Um, I'm trying to think of another question that I
I know
typically get. Huh?
I know another one that students typically ask, what is full time, let's say for a 16-week term versus a 8-week term?
That is actually a good question. 16, and are you asking how they
How they
differ from
differ?
each other
So
as far as?
for six, yeah, so for a 16-week term, how many credits should students take to be full time? And how many credits should a student take, let's say in an 8-week term or second half of the semester, what would be considered full time for them?
Got you. Okay. So for the full-time students for a 16-week course, of course, is going to be 12 weeks. And for the 8-week course, if it's
So you may
during the
be,
fall, if
so
it's
you mean
during the
12 credits for, I just want to make sure.
yeah, 12, yeah,
Okay,
12 credit
gotcha.
hours. So they need to be taking at least 4 classes.
Okay.
For the 8-week course, depending on when it is, because it works differently for if it's a fall semester or summer semester, because summer, you're only required to take 6 classes or for that term in order to be considered full time. So 6 classes for summer one is considered full time, 6 classes for summer two is considered full time. But if you are taking an 8-week course during the fall semester, it's still wouldn't necessarily be considered a full-time. It wouldn't be considered full-time if you were to take 6 credit hours. You still must have 12 credit hours during the fall semester in order to be considered full-time. From
Okay.
my
And,
Yeah, from
and,
my
and another question students tend to ask us, and I just wanted to get it from you directly, is to receive BAH, what status must I have credit wise, or do I have to be part time? And what is part time?
So for students who are taking 6 credit hours or less, that's considered half-time, and I don't believe that they'll receive compensation for that. But the courses will be paid for, they just won't receive BAH. So I think they need to be over half-time in order to be prorated. Um, in order to receive the full compensation, they must be a full-time student, so they have to be taking 12 credit hours.
All right. Do you all have any additional questions? Angel, Christy, thank you for joining us, and Valerie.
I don't have any additional questions. I don't think the participants are able to speak at this time. And I don't think the chat function is working properly. So I don't think there are any other questions.
Well, I'm
Well,
always
cool.
available, so if anyone needs me, they can email me. I'm
Well,
usually, I try to be as quick as possible. I do get a lot of emails, but I try to be as quick as possible.
okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Williams. I know you have a busy day and you have a number of students that contact you, but thank you for your time. We appreciate your service also.
Oh,
Thank you,
no
Mr.
problem.
Williams.
It's a pleasure. No problem. You guys have any other questions before I go? I hope I answered everything to my fullest ability.
No, what only question is, so that the audience knows, what's the best contact method for you? If that's email, what is that email address?
Yeah, so email would probably be the best way. And my email address is cordero.williams, so CORDARREL.Williams with an S at tccd.edu.
Okay. Thank you once again. We appreciate your time.
Oh, no problem at all. You guys have a good one.
All right. You too.
Thank you.